What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Footy with the Boys here. Another half-week recap episode, but we're gonna be coming with all the takes here. Nick wearing the Gooners kit again. They had quite the victory. We'll get into that. How are we feeling?
Good, dude. Good, feeling good. Couple of wins for the boys this weekend, Arsenal and the Niners. So feel good.
All right. I was hoping you wouldn't mention that one. Opening up some fresh wounds. Mike, with the Detroit Tigers hat, is that in honor of the Lions getting their conference championship bid here?
It is. As a Michigan man, it seems right. I can't claim to be a Lions fan, but you love to see the state and the city of Detroit get a dub. It doesn't happen all that often.
Mike's
Yeah,
got the
you most
Lions,
likely
Tigers,
picked
and Bears going,
like,
bro.
That's right.
yeah.
And Everton didn't play this week, so nothing to bitch and moan about. So I'm pretty happy.
It's a good case on both sides there. Nothing to bitch and moan about, and just things to be happy about. But first things first, we have some headlines kind of around the world here. First in Spain, one, Girona are insane, but two, Real Madrid sticking that title race hope of Girona a little bit in the neck here with a 3-2 victory, coming back from down 2-0. Controversy at the end, as Real Madrid tends to have. The refs had some calls go to their favor. Mike, is Real Madrid just being given the league? Jude Bellingham, maybe the refs trying to slide them some points. You don't want Girona winning your league, do you?
No, if you're La Liga, it's not good for your ratings, and it's Real Madrid. They're gonna get the benefit of the doubt every time that the ref can make a call. The first goal is controversial for sure. The penalty decision questionable, and Almeria gets a goal ruled out by a VAR decision. So anything that could happen to help Madrid win the game did happen. It's you know, it's another day in Spain.
Yeah. It's just Real Madrid or Barcelona, cheeky Atletico every once in a while. That's who they're really wanting to win the league. I'm sure that a loss to Almeria here with Girona nipping at them is not exactly great for marketing. But speaking of other teams, not just Girona, making some upsets in terms of the title race, Leverkusen still undefeated. Xabi Alonso, oh my gosh, he has got these boys cooking, and Bayern get the loss today. So they're now 7 points behind Leverkusen. Obviously, they have a game in hand as well, but man, 7 point gap. That's a Bayern type lead, and it's Leverkusen that has it above them. You'll notice that Borussia Dortmund not in the top four there, so maybe they could use a little bit more Gio right now. All I'm saying, but where do you think Xabi Alonso goes from here? Is he going straight to Real Madrid, or is some team in the Premier League gonna drop an absolute bag to get that guy to their team?
I'm not quite certain. Real Madrid just signed Ancelotti to an extension, so it doesn't really seem like he'll leave anytime soon. Probably not until his contract is up. But that seems like a natural fit for Alonso, at least down the line. Um, it would be strange if Leverkusen could hold on to him for a 2 year period, but I would like to see it. I think he's a hipster manager. I think he fixed the club, and I'd like to see what they could do in Champions League next year.
Nick, if Arteta is fourth and Xabi Alonso wants to come to Arsenal, Arteta out.
Jeez, what the hell? No. That felt
Create a
like
storyline here, Nick. Create a
that was
storyline.
a Nick Tracy ass question. Just fucking just put Arsenal fourth, Arteta out. Like, uh, no, it's fine. We're good. He's great. He's awesome. I don't know. Did Mike call him a hipster manager? Is that what he said?
He did,
I
yes.
did.
The fuck does that mean? Anyway, he'll go to Madrid eventually. They'll have like one tiny dip in form, and they'll lose all faith in Ancelotti immediately. So, um, Ancelotti will get the Brazil job at some point, and then Xavi will go to Madrid. Until then, he stays at Leverkusen.
Yeah, we'll see. I think maybe one more year at Leverkusen, and I think Manchester United with bringing in Man City's director of operations. Maybe he makes a big splash move with all the cash they have over there at United. Brings in a proper manager, not Eric Ten Hag ball for the rest of the time, and maybe he can be the key that gets that engine turning again. Uh, Also happened. Uh, Speaking of Bayern and the German league, Trippier is being linked to Bayern. Whole bunch of English players going over to Bayern. They already got Dyer and Harry Kane. Dyer definitely was just to get Harry Kane a friend over there. But should Bayern be going for a Kieran Trippier here? I feel like he's very good, but I think for what Bayern is doing, trying to go for Champions League every year might be a step below. Do you see it the same way?
I think it's a really weird one, especially with his age. They have an attacking fullback available with Rafael Guerrero, who they just bought this past summer. Um, so I don't really see the fit. I know they like to play with one attacking fullback. If Davies is gone in the summer, maybe, but it's not a long-term solution. They're not going to get any money out of it. If Newcastle needs to sell a player, though, it makes sense on their side.
Yeah, that may be true. That's a discount buy, but yeah, Masarawi I think has been pretty good for them at right back, and obviously have Guerrero at left. So seems like an interesting move. We'll see if it actually does happen though. But Nick, would you like to see it happen? Trippier leaving Newcastle here?
The second that Bayern's got Spursy DNA in them, they're fucking bottling it. So stay as far away as possible from Kieran Trippier. Um, I don't think it helps anyone except for Kieran Trippier. Like, if you're a Trippier, you're fucking all over that deal. But Newcastle, what's that fee gonna be? Like, he's 34 or something. He's probably in
Yeah.
the second to last year of his contract. Like, what do you get? Like 10 million for him? He's worth more than that to your team, like for this next couple of months. So I don't know. Do it if you want, but honestly, he's had a pretty shitty season too for his standards. So I'm I'm
I mean,
pretty don't give
seven
a fuck on it.
assists.
I see it as a losing move on all ends. I think Trippier's bought in Newcastle. He seems to be their captain of sorts and at least a leader. The fans seem to love him. Eddie Howe seems to love him, and I think you would find it hard to get a starting spot in Bayern. I don't know if they would utilize him all that much, so it'd be a weird one.
Yeah, definitely a weird one. I'm sure with Newcastle being backed by the oil money, he'd be not necessarily seeing that crazy of a pay raise going from Newcastle to Bayern, but we'll see if that happens. Harry Kane potentially not getting a trophy after leaving Tottenham to get a trophy is certainly a storyline to keep an eye on because, like we said, Leverkusen is leading that Bundesliga table by quite a bit. They're already out of the DFB Pokal, and Champions League would be the only other option. So not great for the prospects of a trophy there for Mr. Harry Kane. But finally, we go to the U.S. men's national team. They got a loss this weekend versus Slovenia. Eh, game cupcake. Not really the real U.S. men's national team, so I don't think it's the biggest deal. But how much do you put into this one? Do you guys, is it any type of importance on a scale of 1 to 10? How much are you grading anything from this game? And Mike, I'll start with you.
Um, I only watched a little bit. I watched the first half and was really not impressed, so I turned it off and did something else. The goal they gave up was really soft. It was just really poor defending, and Schultz, who came out as a goalkeeper, didn't impress me at all. I thought he was kind of weak in his charge. Yeah, it'd be a hard save to make, but not impressive for me. Um, the one standout was Luna. I think he tried to make his mark on this game. He wasn't overly effective in the attacking third, but he worked his ass off. I like seeing that. And the major takeaway I have is I didn't like how nonchalant Greg Berhalter was after the game, talking with Beasley and other guys, saying, "Well, they tried hard and This is a group of young guys. I'd expect the manager to take it a little bit more seriously, even if it is a friendly. I don't like how lackadaisical, kind of happy he was about getting this loss.
Yeah. Nick, do you see it the same way? Or are you a bit more forgiving on such a C team random friendly in January?
Anything Berhalter does annoys me. So yeah, it's it's a bad look. It's he should have taken it more serious. It's at the end of the day, the game means absolutely nothing. Everyone sucked.
Yeah. I think the thing to take away is there were some promising people, Esmir Bagraktarovic, that came on in the second half from the New England Revolution, was the youngest player that got his debut, and he, on his first touch, nutmegged somebody, had a lot of dribbles towards the end, so definitely making some things happen. Future there, Diego Luna also showed some promise, good balls in, and just control, I guess. But everything else kind of just sucked. Don't think anybody here really made a claim for a roster spot at Copa America. That was going to be a stretch no matter what. But even the Olympics, I mean, don't think any of them really made Greg Berhalter or U.S. Soccer think, yeah, they're absolutely a person we need on either of those rosters. And it also does show a bit that Greg Berhalter, when he doesn't have just a significant higher amount of talent than the other teams, does not necessarily have the tactics to actually get results or actually get goals. That's how he's been fired at all his jobs, is that he does not create enough goals. And they were not looking too threatening or too coordinated in their attacking moves here. But we'll get away from ranting on Greg Berhalter.
Before we go, Jared, as the resident USMNT guy, as you are, diving deep into these players, probably knowing them all quite a bit better than Nick or I. Anybody in this team on the bench and the starting lineup that you think deserves a shout at getting more caps or impressed you at all?
I mean, the obvious Miles Robinson is going to be getting more caps just because he's,
Apart from Miles Robinson, he's a
yeah.
staple.
I think you could see Dewan Jones at left back or right back stepping in as a backup behind a Joe Scally and Anthony Robinson. He's had a few caps. You pretty much know what he's going to do. He's not going to do anything too stupid or too ambitious. Gets up and down, good effort. Diego Luna in the future, I think, could be a future person that you watch out for. But uh, other than that, of the starting 11, nobody else. Producer P, if you could scroll down to the subs here. We have Caleb Wiley from Atlanta. He's high ceiling, but needs to start kind of growing into that. But he's an outside back, so certainly could take a spot later on. Jack McGlynn, he's not as athletic as you'd want, but can put a good ball. Duncan McGuire is probably going to have a move over to the championship. And then probably Esmir Bagraktarovic at New England Revolution is the brightest of the rest there because he was a little saucy when he came on. He's a dribble. He'll probably be with that Olympic squad this summer. But yeah, there wasn't anybody that was huge prospect here or anybody that's gonna break through immediately. So not even that exciting in terms of a future type of camp here. Did not go well.
Surprising to see James Sands not at least get a spot off the bench, some minutes. He played quite a bit of minutes and games in that Gold Cup run, didn't he?
Yeah, I think they know what James Sands is, so I don't think he's necessarily somebody they need to see or get that much more tape on. I think that just takes up another spot of what other people can show for a potential roster spot because he can't fit into really any of the other squads. But yeah, nothing too exciting there. But that's all right. It was just a January camp. But what was exciting, Nick, was your Arsenal. We said that Chris Richards might score. There was no scoring happening for Crystal Palace. It was 5-0 to the Arsenal here. Martinelli with 2 goals after the 90th minute. Nick, run us through the dismantling here of Crystal Palace.
Stop saying we when for like to cover for your shitty takes of Chris Richards is gonna score. You said Chris Richards is gonna score.
We said as a pod.
That was not stamped as the pod. That was a Jared Flaggett take. Yeah. So before this, we lost 3 games in a row. The West Ham game, the Fulham game, and the Liverpool FA Cup game. I think this performance was only better than that Fulham game. That Fulham game was probably our worst game of the season. Honestly, like I thought we played better against West Ham. I thought we played better against Liverpool. We didn't finish. Part of that was just like the ball wasn't bouncing our way, and part of that was being wasteful. So it was good to see the boys take their chances after a couple weeks off. But like this came down honestly more to Palace being absolute shit than anything else. Um, really cool to see Will Smith Rowe in the midfield. I think all Gunners are really happy about that. He got a good 25 minutes, and I don't agree with a lot of the hate that's been going at Havertz for the midfield, but Emil Smith Rowe in a game like that really did offer something different, like being able to get on the half turn and work between lines. And he drove the ball. He's so fucking pretty just to like watch take the ball on his foot. Like, oh, he is a good footballer, and Arteta needs to use him more. But rumors that he had a really good camp in Dubai. But yeah, it was cool for that. Martinelli obviously coming off the bench. Hot take. I actually kind of like seeing him there running at tired legs for 20 minutes or whatever time he got. He's obviously a better player than Trossard, who also had a goal and played well. So I understand why we're starting him all the time, and I would probably do the same thing. But that's cool. It's cool to see him run at tired legs and just do 2 Henry-esque finishes, just right side footed into the corner. So 5-0, honestly pretty standard. I'm not gonna take too much away from this game aside from Palace are horrible. This was just kind of taking care of business. If we had won this game like 2-0, I honestly probably would have been a little bit disappointed. So 5-0 does not flatter us at all. We were the better team by far, but also we did not hit our best game. But I think it's coming. Fresh legs, you could definitely see Saka like a little bit more into it. Odegaard played well. Jesus had a good assist. I didn't think he offered much else, but 5-0 is always going to be a positive result. So up to the Gunners.
And Mike, from the Palace side, you're kind of going into this maybe not expecting a loss, but you're not going to be surprised if you lose this game versus a top team like Arsenal. Does it matter that it's 5-0 or a loss is a loss? It's 0 points either way, no matter how many goals are scored against you. So does it have a bigger effect 5-0? Does that disrail them anymore, or a loss is a loss and you move on to the next game?
It does matter. Losing 5-0 is demoralizing. It absolutely crushes you, crushes any sort of semblance of having a good performance, because no matter how well you thought you played individually, if your team loses 5-0, it was a bad day. I mean, ask Eberechi Eze. He was the only dude who came out to perform for Palace, in my opinion. And even he was stunted with just lack of options and Arsenal just dominating the ball. So really bad loss. This Crystal Palace team doesn't seem to have aspirations of doing very much except for staying up this year. You could see that in their decision for having Hodgson as a long interim. I mean, they had him most of last year, and it seems to be all of this year. And by having an old manager like that, not on a long contract, what can your aspirations really be? It's not to finish high to chase a Europe spot. They were just not in this game at all. Nick was right. Having Martinelli come off the bench and run at this just tired team really showed how impactful he can be when he's fresh. He hadn't scored like that in a number of games, and he did it back to back in a matter of a minute, almost the same identical goal. This is going to be a hard one to bounce back. Just wanting to stay up, yeah, there's a lot that can happen in the remaining fixtures. They should be safe, especially with what's going to happen with Nottingham and Everton, most likely. But with Brentford having Tony back, Nottingham with their new boost, and the rest of the teams above them, it looks like the gap is there, and they're probably the worst of that 10 to 15 bunch.
Yeah, I think Crystal Palace probably would have made a move if this were a different year in the Premier League, but I think they feel a little bit of comfort knowing that the teams beneath them are Nottingham Forest, potential points deduction. Everton already had a point deduction and another potential one. And then Luton Town, Burnley, and Sheffield, which make just about everybody above them feel relatively comfortable that they're a little bit more safer than a normal year with a bottom three. So I think good old Roy Hodgson is just ticking along for the end of the year until they can make whatever move they really want to in the summer and make those moves with that manager.
Really
Uh,
quickly, Graham Potter at the game in the stands.
Yeah,
So I think that'd be a fucking home run manager signing if you're Crystal Palace. If they lose this game against Sheffield next week, I think Roy's out the door and you're signing Graham Potter by next Friday.
yeah, I think that comfort zone gets a little less comfortable if you go 5-0 and then don't get 3 points for Sheffield. That's
100%.
a little tough. But what is not tough is Liverpool and their attack. They can score some goals. Not as much as Arsenal, we will say, to give some props, but 4 goals. And it was just a shit Andy Carroll that had done it. Darwin Nunez gets a brace. Diego Jota with a brace as well. Are the Liverpool title favorites at this point? Do we like them over Man City? They have a 5 point lead right now. Man City has a game in hand. So obviously, if they do win that game, it's just 2 points. But are we thinking Liverpool should be the favorites at this point? Nick?
By match week 19 last year, Arsenal were 5 points ahead of City. And we saw how that happened, and everyone talking about how Arsenal choked away the title, which they did. So I'm here to say we absolutely need to keep the same energy for when it happens to Liverpool this year. Because yes, they should be considered title favorites if we're considering Arsenal favorites last year, which again they were, and they choked it. So I still see Man City winning this league. That's what I believe is going to happen. But you're 5 points clear at the top of the table, right? We're past Christmas, right? So you're supposed to be title favorites now. I would say that if we're going off of last year, then these people should be title favorites too.
I think the problem with last year was that Arsenal fans were getting so annoying and obnoxious with how they had already won the title essentially, and then they
Who
lost it.
the fuck said that? No one said that. What? I am the only Arsenal fan you know. And I was not saying
Arsenal
that.
fan TV.
Oh my
Unfortunately, there
god.
there is
Arsenal.
the internet that also has Arsenal fans, though, Nick, and
Yeah.
those fans are maybe slightly too confident in their team, closing things down the stretch. But Mike, do you feel the same way that Liverpool absolutely should be the title favorites, and if they lose this, that would be a choke job?
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh
Yeah,
my
they are a title favorite, but it's the
same fucking
beast. It's
situation.
Man City, dude. Yeah, it,
It's
it is this it is the same situation. And I'm not gonna rag on Arsenal that hard because I just know the reality of it, of what Man City is. De Bruyne is back. Haaland's coming back. They're just such a juggernaut, and they're not going to give up any points anytime soon. It doesn't seem like. So unless Liverpool can just go win for win, match them up and down the board, I can't really say that they're the favorite. I can't say that. But that being said, great performance today with not a great back line. I mean, you have Joe Gomez starting because it's a necessity, and he's more experienced than you have on the right back. They have Connor Bradley start at right back, and they put in a decent shift. Bournemouth looked they might score in the first half, but then they just got ran out of the game. Shit, Andy Carroll had himself a day, had himself a brace, and the FIBA Ultimate Team man, Diogo Jota, did the same. So 4 goals, that's a lot. You saw Areola and oh no, excuse me, Iriola. Hard with that pronunciation. And a lot of guys on the touchline bitching about the 8 minutes extra that was stoppage time, and they just wanted to get out of there, rightfully so. Didn't want to see an injury, and they knew the game was over. This is tough, and Liverpool look legit.
Yeah, Liverpool definitely legit. I think Mike, you're kind of on something there with Man City. They are quite literally just a World 11. So even last year, Nick, I don't think it was necessarily that crazy of a choke job when
You
you have
can't say this retroactively after
Yeah,
spending a year
it's out there.
shitting on us. Like, you can't like you're just changing the goalpost, dog. Like this, you're pushing back.
It's objectively funny that Arsenal did end up losing that after all the talk, but I still
Then
think
keep the
that
same energy. It's objectively funny when Liverpool lose. Then
it will be objectively
okay,
funny, but I don't
fantastic.
think it's a massive choke job by them. I think it's Man City has a World 11 as
I mean,
their regular starting 11.
and no one's more aware of it than Jurgen Klopp. I mean, he essentially said it a week ago that the league's on watch with De Bruyne coming back. He knows what's about to happen. He's shaking in his boots. Yeah, he likes his team. Yeah, he thinks they can do well. But if you had to have him make a bet on whether he's going to get it done or City, I'm not saying he's going to bet against his boys, but see how much money he throws out there.
As if Man City, and this is a bit of an aside, we'll go back to the recaps in a second. But if Man City didn't have the oil money, didn't go crazy on spending on everybody and bringing in Pep Guardiola, would we be speaking of Jurgen Klopp as the greatest Premier League manager? He's been second in almost all these, and Man City has taken away so many would have been titles and records that he would have set. Would he be how we see Pep Guardiola if there were no Pep Guardiola?
No,
I mean, are we talking just Pep in the Prem, or are we including Barca and Bayern Pep?
Just Prem. In Prem dominance, do you think Liverpool would have been able to win all those titles that they got second in? They got 100 points. Man City gets even more. It's just they've been going crazy, and Jurgen Klopp has not gotten many trophies because he's coaching in the same era as Man City's crazy monsters with Pep Guardiola and oil money and Kevin De Bruyne.
Maybe. I don't want to live in hypotheticals. I think the competition, it fuels it. It fuels the teams. So yeah, they probably would have won a few more, but he's been pretty great in his own right. He's got a Champions League and a Premier League and a handful of League Cup trophies. So yeah, I mean, maybe, but City would have another manager that would done the same thing, probably, right?
I don't know what would have done the same as Pep, but just food for thought. We'll move into another food for thought here, and I'll give you a hypothetical.
Oh
If
boy.
Ivan Toney came back to the Bees, would they start buzzing again? What's the answer here, boys?
What was that, Nick?
Fucking. You know, a buzz.
Oh, they are buzzing. With his illegal betting, he moved into this game and illegally moved the ball for his free kick, and he scored off of it. That man knows how to do things that are not allowed. He got away with it this time, and he gets his return goal. A big 3-2 win for Brentford here. They were hot garbage for a while here. Finally get a win. Do you think this spurs on Brentford to start getting some points, to get a little bit more comfortable with their season again? Mike?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. This is their main man, their talisman, their goal scorer, their captain. So they create plenty of chances. They never had a problem with that. And defensively, they're pretty strong. So if they have someone to finish those chances, yes, I'm sure that they'll do better. Once a Bomo gets back and Wisa as well, that attack three will be elite or just shy of elite. So they'll be an exciting team to watch. And the amount of bitching that I'm hearing about Tony moving the ball, it's so fucking ridiculous, dude. That happens all the time. And you have a wall of 5 players who are looking at the free kick taker. You have Matt Turner in goal who directs the wall. If he looks up and he sees, hey, guess what? The ball's wider than it was when I set my wall, then move the fucking wall. Like, yeah, the refs are accountable, sure. And maybe he technically is not allowed to do that. But you have 11 people out there who can make that call. You have the coach on the sideline who could see it. And guess what? That's just part of the game, man. He took advantage and he scored a goal, and it was a hell of a goal at that. So I'm not mad at it.
Brentford will be
I mean,
playing four
technically,
of
you're
the
not
best
allowed to
teams in the
bet
league here.
either, and he technically did bet still. So he likes his technicalities and getting away with things. Yeah, as producer P points out here, they have a tough stretch of games actually coming up. Damn. The Bees could be going back into hibernation there after a much needed win. But Nick, we mentioned this in the group chat a bit on the day of the game, but I want to bring it to the pod here. Brentford announced Ivan Toney as if he were Jesus rising from the grave. They named him captain. They did a WWE Undertaker style intro for him on the day of. Everything was so amazing about him. For a man that got suspended for betting and for a guy that has continually said that he wants to leave Brentford, is it a bit too much riding of Brentford on Mr. Ivan Toney?
Damn.
What's up, riding?
I left that
No,
word out for a reason, Mike.
listen, I think I have a really high opinion of the quality of footballer that Ivan Toney is, and I think that he doesn't get the respect that he deserves because he plays at Brentford. But we've seen small clubs have big players all the time, and I think he's one of them. When you think of guys like fucking like Conte and Mahrez at Leicester, a little different because they won the league. But we think of guys like I don't know, like fucking even Rice at West Ham. Like there are some teams that players who play for smaller clubs. West Ham's a bit bigger, but they are better. Van Dijk at Southampton, like Mane at Southampton, maybe not to their level, but still he doesn't get the
James
respect he
Madison at
deserves.
Leicester
There
last
you
year.
go.
Tyler Adams at Leeds.
Oh,
Okay.
oh. Josh Sargent, Norwich City.
Daryl Dike,
Yeah,
West Brom.
he doesn't get the respect he deserves. I am perfectly fine with the introduction, especially because he was their captain. It's a big deal to have him back. They've been struggling without him. And forget the goal, which again, like savviness, that's what you fucking love to see in the biggest stage, moving that ball over. Hilarious. If people have a problem with it, then you're just like get the stick out of your ass. Like you're kind of a bitch. But he affected like every part of that game for them. He like his vision is so underrated to be able to just pick passes like across the field from each other and make it look easy. The his hold up play obviously ridiculous, but he's athletic, he can move really well, he's like fluid. Um it's tough because he peaked like late. I think he's already 27, so he theoretically probably only has like 4-ish years left at the top, theoretically. Um, but he is a real player, and I am not mad at all at the reception that they gave him.
Yeah. Just another little thing to think about, the amount of love they showed him. But
We're missing the
it's
storyline of the game here, gentlemen. It's staring right at us. A certain goal in the 68th minute from the Frenchman, the Evertonian, the lone E, Neil Bloody Mopey with a striker's finish. You never see it. I think it's his second goal of the season, but that was a banger. And there was more bitching and moaning about a handball, but no, that was just a nice touch, turn, Barry. Jared, do we need him back? Is Big
No.
Dom not cutting it? Is Beto not cutting it? Do we need the
I
man?
don't want Malplay back. I don't think that was the big thing of the game. I don't think it was staring us at the face. I don't think anybody was looking at Brentford Nottingham Forest game and saying, "Ah, yes, Neil Mape got his second league goal." That is
It was a nice
exactly
goal, to be fair.
But in all honesty, I thought the big storyline was Tony. And something surprised me. He was match fit. He played 90 minutes, which I thought he might make a cameo, not play the whole game. You think he's going to get tired out, tired legs if he keeps playing like this 2-3 games in a row?
I mean, I'd imagine he's been doing a lot of training. It's not like he's coming back from an injury. He's coming back from placing bets. His FanDuel account was suspended. He didn't tear an ACL. Like he can be doing all the cardio he needs to stay physically fit to run around a field.
I think he should be fresh.
Fair, fair. I think training is one thing though, and match fitness is another. But you could be right.
He had a couple friendlies before. He scored like a hat trick in a friendly like 2 weeks ago.
Just imagine being in a U23 friendly for your club, and all of a sudden Ivan Toney comes out against you. What a time! What a time! Speaking of a U23 team, Sheffield United was able to get a 2-2 draw with West Ham.
Man.
Craziness towards the end here. 2 red cards, 90th plus 13 penalty to tie it up with Ollie McBurney. Always love when that guy scores. Mike, take us through the craziness that this was.
Yeah, I caught into this game late, caught maybe the last 25 minutes of the second half and then stoppage time. So I can't speak too much on the first few goals, but from what I did see, it got a little crazy. Prowl's obviously penalty specialist, buries his, and then there's a red card you could see from Brewster on Sheffield, deservedly. He went in with a crazy tackle, left both feet, studs showing. And then Vladimir Kufal kind of lost West Ham this game in conjunction with the referees. He got a yellow card for dissent and then followed that up with another yellow card a few minutes later with a clumsy challenge. And then the penalty awarded to Sheffield comes from Areola, made a little contact with a Sheffield striker. Yeah, it looked like a pen. They subbed on Fabianski, who's supposed to be a penalty specialist. Believe he's like third all time in the Premier League for penalties saved. So a little mind games from Moyes on the sideline, pulling a Netherlands. Didn't turn out that way. He dived late. Never was going to get there. So not the greatest ideas, but try it. But the main storyline is the lack of a penalty for West Ham in the last 2 minutes of stoppage time. Jared Bowen gets essentially tackled, and a good wrap-up tackle at that. NFL players take note. That is a form tackle. So, yeah, it's not meant for this sport, but it worked out this time. VAR checked it. Apparently, that's not a foul, but it definitely was. So West Ham will leave this game feeling that they shot themselves in the foot, and the referees left them there to bleed out.
Yeah, I think it's hard to feel too bad for them if they're shooting themselves in the foot, especially against a Sheffield United who use all the points they get. But West Ham is in a cheeky 6th place in the league right now. That is a little wild. They had a huge dip in form after kind of that early hot start, but kind of how everybody else has dropped off in their form with a Manchester United, a Brighton not being too good, Chelsea has kind of worked their way up, I suppose, and Newcastle just dropping down like none other right now. Just found themselves in 6th place. They had some good results, decent results, and now they're in a European spot. I think it's although you're drawn here with Sheffield, and that's not good. With where you're at in the table, I think you're okay with where you're sitting. But that was it for this weekend in terms of games for the U.S. men's national team corner. We obviously already covered their friendly, which wasn't most of really anybody that would be on the U.S. teams coming up, but McKennie had another assist today. Should have been a goal. It was a header that he headed across the goal, and Dusan Fadovic goes in and taps it in like maybe a millimeter before it went in itself. So McKennie looked a little perturbed by that one. Christian Pulisic continues to play well for AC Milan. Yunus Musa playing for them. Sergino Dest with another assist. So all the players that will be playing in the significant tournaments are playing pretty well in some good form. Gio Reyna continues to heat up with transfer rumors. Real Sociedad continuing to stick out as the number one option, but they have indicated that they're going to make sure they make the right decision and take the full 2 weeks that they have to decide. But other than that, boys, I will leave you guys for our final thoughts. And Nick, I know Mike likes to close us out, so I'll start with you. Closing thoughts?
No, just happy with the win. Shout out to the boys. I believe we have Nottingham next Tuesday, so A little Matty Turner revenge game, perhaps? Who knows? The Arsenal.
All right. And Mike, as you do so well, close us out.
I want to close this out, but first I have one or two other things I just want thoughts out there in the soccer stratosphere. See what we're thinking.
Go Lions.
Giovanni Reina did play this weekend. Little cameo at the end. Not too late to revive his Dortmund career, Jared?
No, I want him gone.
Okay. And the other news, bigger news, Man City news, Premier League news. Omar Barada, who was head of the football group for Man City, switches in his Man City Blues for Man U Reds. Just walks across the city. Is this the beginning of something for City? Is this a money move? What is this? What do you guys think? What do you make of it?
I think Man U either threw a bag at this guy and got him, or, and fingers crossed, I think it's coming. I think the Chargers are coming, boys. I think they're on their way, and we're gonna see Man City relegated.
I mean, if you're looking at it and you're going conspiracy, trying to read between all the lines and not reading the lines, you would see that he's moving over from Manchester City to Manchester United. And that was about a couple days after they announced a trial date for Manchester City's 115 charges, which I'm sure he would know quite a bit about what's going on. So maybe he's getting out before it's a little ugly for Manchester City. Could be a good sign for the rest of the league here. And maybe Liverpool, very much so, should be title favorites based off of that case.
As much as I would love to see Man City go down in flames, how good of a move is this for Manchester United? It seems to be a step in the right direction. He's been successful at all the clubs he's gone to, and this is the biggest area or pain point for Man U at the moment, how poorly they've run their club from a sporting side with transfers that don't pan out, spending way too much money. Is this a big step in the right direction? And how soon will it come into effect that they get the gears moving?
I think only time will tell. I think it's hard to say that Barada was the reason that Manchester City was so successful. I mean, he may have ran it well and he may turn around Manchester United like crazy. But I also think if you're a Manchester United fan, you don't get all your hopes up that all of a sudden you're going to turn into Manchester City because he did have all the money in the world. He was bringing in Pep Guardiola as the manager and bringing in Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne. It's things that you just can't go to another club and all of a sudden have or all of a sudden do. So I think it's definitely a step in the right direction, but I don't know if it's necessarily the gigantic move that anybody should be so wildly hyped up about. But Nick, do you see it that same way, or am I just maybe a little pessimistic for Manchester United?
I think they have a lot of issues. I don't know if this one thing is gonna help. Step in the right direction for sure, though.
One
Good
foot
to
in
hear
front
it.
of the other.
Well, if it goes poorly, it'd be so sad to see both Manchester clubs fail. I would sure hate to see it. Up the Toffees, boys. Thanks for coming. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on TikTok. Check us out on Instagram. Let us know what we're doing right, what you want to see. Do we need more Jared? Do we need more Party P? Producer P to you. Do we need more Nick? We
Party
certainly
P
don't
needs
need
to be his
more
close
me.
friend and
RDP's
family.
gonna make a fucking appearance, bro.
Check out again next Tuesday. I bid you adieu. Up the Toffees.